Kilmainham brooch, brooch, ham brooch, ham brooch. The Kilmainham brooch is a late 8th or early 9th century Celtic brooch of the penannular type, i.e., its ring does not fully close or is incomplete. With a diameter of 9.67 cm, it is a relatively large example, and is made from silver, gold, and glass, with filigree and interlace decorations. Like other high-quality brooches of its class, it was probably intended to fasten copes and other vestments rather than for everyday wear, as its precious metal content would have made it a status symbol for its owner. Less expensive Viking-style brooches were typically worn in pairs on women's clothing. The brooch is dated to the late 8th or early 9th century based on its 8th century design patterns, along with the fact that silver was not easily available in Ireland until the first Viking invasion in AD 795. It was found in the 18th century during an excavation of a Viking burial place in Kilmainham, on the fringe of the city of Dublin in Ireland. Although established as being of Irish origin, its form and decoration seem heavily influenced by both Viking art in material and earlier Pictish metalwork in design and technique. It is held at the Kildare Street, Dublin branch of the National Museum of Ireland, where it is on permanent display in the Treasury room. Description: the brooch is classed as penannular as its ring is incomplete, does not fully close. It is made from gold, silver, and mostly red glass and enamel, and is similar in form and material to the better-known Tara and Hunterston brooches. The frame is of cast silver and contains cells that once held gold spiral filigree and glass inserts, although some of these are now lost. The ring is outlined by double ridges in high relief, with flat areas reserved for decorative elements. Its top contains a wide oval compartment or cell bearing traces of red enamel, while the sides are formed from gold plates bounded by twisted wires and interlace decorations. The ring ends on two quadrilobate terminals, consisting of 4 lobes each, which are formed from a central square surrounded by semicircular or crescent lobes, 3 of which are free, while the 4th is shaped and attached to arm of the ring itself. The format of the quatrefoil terminals has been compared to the opening folio for the Gospel of Luke in the c. 8800 Book of Kells. The overall head is strap-like when viewed in cross-section. The tracery on the curves of the ring is made up of interlaced bodies and legs of zoomorphic animals, including an Irish elk. Most of the original pin head is lost, with only its base remaining intact, and also has traces of red enamel. The reverse is mostly flat, but repeats the shape of the oval compartment on the front. It has some interlace designs, including 2 interlocking dogs. The brooch style has been described as of ecclesia-gothio character, with fine workmanship, and compared to the Tara example, although not so fine. Although described in 1989 as probably Irish, it contains structural and decorative designs, including its lobed, i.e. hanging terminals, small cusps, and the cartouche on the hoop, are reminiscent of the Pictish style, indicating that it may be of Northumbrian origin, unlikely, or at least heavily influenced by that style. Brooches of this type are the most common and thus studied form of surviving Irish and Scottish medieval metalworks, due both to their then popularity and inherent durability. Examples, such as the Kilmainham brooch, were built by skilled craftsmen and their workshops using precious metal, and intended as status symbols for wealthy and often female commissioners. Dating. The Kilmainham brooch is usually dated to the late 8th or early 9th centuries, as it is seen as transitional in both style and material. Its annular form and use of filigree place it in the 8th century Irish tradition, while its use of silver, as opposed to gilding, indicates at earliest and early 9th century origin, that is, in the period after the 795 AD Viking invasions of Ireland, when silver became more available to native metalworkers. Provenance. It was found in the mid-18th century at a late 9th and early 10th century Viking burial site at Kilmainham, County Dublin, Ireland, alongside swords and other artifacts of Scandinavian origin or influence. After further excavations in the 21st century, the area of Kilmainham Island Bridge was described by historian Stephen Harrison as demonstrably the largest burial complex of its type in Western Europe, Scandinavia excluded. The find spot was near the ruins of a late medieval hospice run by the St. John of Jerusalem Order of Templars. Its earliest recorded ownership dates to the late 18th century, when it was in the collection of Ralph Owsley of County Sligo. Today it is held by the Archaeology Branch of the National Museum of Ireland on Kildare Street, Dublin, having been acquired by the Royal Irish Academy before 1853. Replicas. The mid-19th century copy in Victoria and Albert Museum, London, is from George Waterhouse, a jeweller from Sheffield, England, who moved to Dublin in 1842 and exhibited the Tara and Kilmainham brooches and their replicas at the 1851 Great Exhibition or Crystal Palace Exhibition. An early 20th century bronze and gilt replica is in the Metropolitan Museum of Art, New York. Both were produced during the Celtic Revival when there was high demand for replicas of objects from Ireland's medieval period, particularly from its golden age of Irish art, roughly AD 700–1200, especially for metalwork. Replicas of the brooch were given the celebrity title of the Knight Templar brooch to increase salability as nationalistic shawlpins, a naming trend also evident in the titling of the Tara brooch, which was in reality found 28 km 17 mi from the hill of Tara, but was at times named the Royal Tara brooch. Adolphe Mar later dismissed the trend for giving brooches, and more importantly, their replicas, such titles as fanciful and sometimes ridiculous by a firm of Dublin jewellers. The acquired its copy at the 1851 exhibition.